Hello and welcome back to the McClaren Performance podcast. It's not the end of the season yet for Manchester United. It's definitely been positive so far, but there's definitely results in there that aren't so good, and I want to take a look at why that's been the case. Manchester in a good position right now, and so far you could say it's really been a good season, winning the Carabao Cup, more and more getting closer to solidifying that top 4 position, being the FA Cup final against Manchester City as well. It's been a really good season, a lot of progress being built on definitely from those seasons before. But I think it's fair to say, despite all those improvements, I think there's some underlying little niggles, things that a lot of Manchester United fans are particularly happy about, mainly the inconsistency in results that is kind of hindering the season in some way. But mainly it just seems to be Manchester United, especially this season, they have this good upward trend, good consistency in results, and then it just takes one game, suddenly they crash. I'm thinking 6-3 against Manchester City, 7-0 against Liverpool, recently 3-0 against Sevilla as well, losing to Newcastle, also Aston Villa. Lots of games whereby things are going well, and then suddenly the performance just isn't there at all. And because of that, I wanted to dedicate an episode just to really speculate on that a bit more. It's something quite unusual to see a team perform at such a high level, and then almost a complete opposite, complete contrast of performances they've shown before, just in one specific game. Because one thing that Manchester United have been good at this season, it has been bouncing back quite often from these poor results. One thing that strikes me straight away when you look into more detail about all these results, the ones that are so bad are usually away games, specifically with teams usually in the top 6, really the top half of the table. If you look at the table here, you really can't hide from it at all. All that red on the right hand side, top half of the table, it never goes well when this Manchester United team goes away against tough opposition, really. In fact, compared to all the teams in the league, if you contrast home points against away points this season so far, Manchester United are third, with the biggest real contrast between the two, just behind Liverpool and also behind Nottingham Forest as well, a team that is kind of notorious this season for being so poor away from home. I'm currently recording this just before Manchester United play Brighton away, so as you can imagine, I'm not massively optimistic about that game coming up either, and when this comes out, we'll probably know. I'll probably put a little video in afterwards to say, oh, I told you so. Yeah, this is me editing. Oh, I was pretty much right. So yeah, it's a poor away form, and you can really only speculate on why that is. If you go up to psychology, really, the basics of that, there's a lot of different factors why away venues can have that kind of negative effect on performance. I think in the case of Manchester United, in the case for most teams, it's the level of intimidation from having a crowd that is mostly really against you. There's actually research conducted by one of my old professors at university where players playing at home have significantly higher testosterone levels than those players playing away, specifically just before the game. So really the environment changes you, takes away that dominance that you once feel, and you can kind of see that in Manchester United at the moment. They're so strong at home at Old Trafford. I think only losing one game this season at home, but away they're a much different team. They're much more fragile, really. As soon as they concede, more mistakes, another mistake, and that level of feeling dominant, that level of confidence, that being able to play instinctively just isn't there. They just aren't as comfortable as they are at home. Of course, there's other factors also. Casemiro being a key player, being in and out the team quite often with red cards. It's been difficult for lots of different reasons, but there definitely is that trend of changes in performance, really, home and away. This really is speculation from the outside, but it does seem like there's a bit of fragility when it comes to their confidence, and it's quite easy to break. And you think that would really change under new management, with new players coming in? And I think you could argue that it has. Manchester United seasons before have been very inconsistent, and you could argue really that inconsistency is only slightly still there at the moment, but is still prevalent as it was before. How you fix that really is the big question, and I guess there's a number of possible ways to do that. I think the one big solution is time. I think with Erik ten Hag's management, with the processes in place, with the confidence that is building from winning tournaments like the Carabao Cup, I think things will progress and things will change as time goes by. I think also with the recruitment of different players, I believe Erik ten Hag said a few weeks ago about the character of player that you have to bring into Manchester United, and I think that is somewhat true. I think there's some things that are, if you talk about nurture versus nature, there's some things that we are born with, or at least raised with, that steel, that ability to play in pressured situations that you could just have as an individual. And it's about identifying that talent, identifying those personalities, and bringing those players into a team. They just need to carry on in that way, bringing in the players that they think can handle the pressure of playing for what is arguably, not arguably really, is the biggest club in England, if not the world. Maybe it's right to say that only certain characters can really shoulder that weight, can really take that on and still play consistently and still play to win. And right now, sadly, it really is evident in the performances especially that maybe those players aren't quite there yet, or at least not enough of them. Something I talked to my dad about actually very early on in the season was that Eric was trying to implement a certain way of playing a course that they haven't played before. When playing away, it's really difficult to perform something that you're just learning right now that isn't really subconsciously integrated, really ingrained in your thinking. You easily fall back into the way you played before and the mistakes that you used to make. It's very difficult and takes time to implement a way of playing for players to feel comfortable and instinctive subconsciously playing the way that you want them to play in pressure situations. So in that case also is just about time and development and the learning of a new way of playing. In the short term though, it's just about showing those players. If I'm a psychologist working in a club like that, or if something like that's happening, it's about showing those players why they should have confidence in their performance. That's pretty easy to do with Manchester United. There's plenty of performances, situations where Manchester United have been absolutely fantastic, and to show those players and evidence to them that that's what they are capable of, even in these real tough away game situations. But the thing is, I'm sure they are doing that. It's just again about time, about development. And I think Manchester United fans overall, they really understand that it's a process, as we've kind of often talked about before. So yeah, thank you for watching and listening. What do you think about my thoughts on that? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Yeah, comment what you think. Thank you again for watching and listening, and I will see you again next week.